Breeze Nation, what is good? It's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again, live up here at Hallis, reacting to what we saw today at OTAs. Some very, very good, some good work by the Chicago Bears today. I thought some very interesting moments at the press conference, at the podium. I thought some good conversation from Caleb Williams as well on the entire situation. We'll talk about all that and more on today's episode of the Windy City Breeze. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. If you haven't done so, please hit that like button. We appreciate you guys supporting the channel. All right, let me go to the notes here because I want to make sure that I'm getting everything right here. Caleb Williams did address the situation with the book, and there was a lot of people who I thought just took it to a degree that it didn't need to go to. I thought there was a lot of conversation around Caleb Williams where it made no sense. And essentially what he did was he came up to the podium and he said, yes, I had those thoughts before I met with Chicago, and then I met with Chicago, and I wanted to be in Chicago. You know, like the article said. I don't think that Caleb Williams gave us anything special, gave us anything different. I don't think that there was a difference in mindset. I don't think that Ben Johnson talking about it had any difference in mindset. I don't think that any of the other players that talked about it brought this difference in mindset that people were expecting there to be, where Caleb Williams said by the end of the article in the chapter of the book, I want to be in Chicago. And I think that it's one of those situations where it's the offseason. You need something to talk about. You need something to drum up interest with the Bears. And a lot of people took it, to me, way too far, because I don't think that you can look at last season and say, yeah, this guy's not bought in. I was glad that Caleb Williams addressed it. I thought that it was something that did need to be addressed at some point. I didn't think it mattered at what point you did address it, because you were going to get the conversation you were going to get anyway. But the big thing out of all of this is Caleb didn't run away from any of that. And I think that's something that we're seeing here with Ben Johnson. This was not the we're going to keep an internal situation that we were getting last season with Matt Eberflus. Ben Johnson didn't run away from it last week. This week, I don't believe that Caleb Williams ran away from it. I thought that this was a good time for the Bears to go out there and deal with this situation. And Caleb came out with a prepared statement, gave his statement, talked to the team, talked with my parents, talked with coach, and we're moving on, and it is the past. And so then before all of that, a practice did happen. And I think here's the big thing about the practice that did happen today at OTAs. Again, it's another day of shorts, T-shirts, and helmets. There's not a ton that you can take from it. But some of the things that I did think going from week 1 to week 2, when you're talking about the learning process, learning the system. Yet again, we got another Ben Johnson interesting blow up today. Not because Caleb Williams didn't know the system, but because he didn't like how he called the play. Said you called the play like you were not prepared to run the play. Call the play the right way. Take it back to the huddle. There was actually a F this, get back in the huddle. We're going to do this again. One thing that really stood out to me today, outside of, there's plays that we'll talk about as well. An interception by Tremaine Edmonds, another interception that was forced by Tremaine Edmonds on a tip ball that went into the hands of Daquan Brisker. But this team really seems like they understand the system. This team really seems like they know, okay, this is what we're looking to have happen here. This is how we're looking to have this play run. And you have to do it the right way, or you're going to run this thing again. You're going to go back to the details. You're going to go back to the drawing board on all of this. I love hearing that from Caleb Williams, from Ben Johnson, from this coaching staff. This coaching staff really is coming at this in a true place of alignment. And I think you heard that from Ben Johnson's comments today, where he talked about, when me and Dennis Allen talk football, we really think of it from the same aspect, showing that they're both in line here. When me and Case Keenum talked about it, when he said, when me and Ben Johnson met, it was supposed to be a 15-minute meeting, ends up being a couple of hours, because you're just talking ball with a guy that also is a known ball knower. You know what I mean? Like, those are the things where it's like, this team really seems like they're heading in the right direction, heading in time. And I thought that we got a lot of good looks at what this team could do. I thought that we got a lot of good today in practice, a lot of good outcomes. And I know that, everybody wants to crown a winner or a loser this early on in the season. There are no winners. There are no losers this early on in the season. You're not the defense won the day, the offense won the day. I'm not doing that, bro. Like, maybe when we get to training camp, we can sit there and have that conversation on padded days. But in the second OTA practice, the 4th or 5th OTA practice that we're allowed in, and the second one that we're allowed in, I should say, like, what I saw today was a team that is clearly learning the system, that understands the system, that is lining up in the right position. That's where you want to be right now. You don't want to be sitting here saying, okay, well, what was that again? Hold on, let's go back to the huddle. Let's do this again because of the play call. And I think you saw that not only just on the offensive side, but I think you saw that on the defensive side of the ball as well. Jaquan Brisker out there calling out the plays, and good to see Brisk back on the field. Did come away with an interception today. Calling out, okay, hey, they're here. We need boss. We need boss. We need boss. Right? Everybody starts to adjust to that. Right? Called Zebra out a couple of times to tell them to get in the zone. Like there were all these things that were happening there where it was like, okay, like now I see that guys are understanding where they're supposed to be. They're understanding where they're at in the system. They're calling out the play. They're figuring these things out early. And I had J-Mac on today's episode of the Chicago Bears podcast, and I asked him this verbatim because I really wanted to see kind of the feeling as we left practice today. J-Mac had this, not a smile, but a look of like, okay, I can kind of see what we're building here. I like this. I like what we're doing here. And I asked him, I was like, did that feel familiar? And he said, yeah, listen, it felt like some of the things that when we had Lovey here that we had to do. It felt like when I was with my running backs coach here in Chicago, how he expected us to do things with Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy was right in front of us. Got a couple of videos dropping on that as well. Eric Bieniemy, though, was right in front of us, and he basically was, out there coaching these guys up, telling them what they needed to be, where they needed to be, how they needed to attack the day. I think that's, those are things. One of the best lines that we heard from Eric Bieniemy today was, "You're out there running like a young old man." Told that to 35, right? Like it's just telling him pick his feet up, right? Getting after these guys and holding them accountable, not after the fact, not after practice, not, hey, let's figure this out after practice. Let's figure this out right now. I think as Bears fans too, we come at this from such a jaded standpoint where we're sitting there going, okay, yep, it looks good. I'm almost excited, right? It can't be real. None of this can be real. Because if this is real, that means that we're going to figure this out. That means that we got the coach right. That means that we got the quarterback right. That means that we got the offensive line right. That means we got the defensive line right. Like what I'm seeing right now can't be real. And there is a yes and a no to that. I think the coaching staff right now, we always talk about players hitting the ground running. I think your coaching staff right now has absolutely hit the ground running, and that is something to be very, very excited about. I think that overall, though, when you're talking about this team going out there and being successful in the long run, there's still a long way away. But what we are seeing, the coaching we are seeing, is real coaching. It is upholding a standard for this team that, I mean, you have to believe is going to pay off in some way as you get to the regular season. So we'll see what the Chicago Bears end up doing in the long run of all this. But today, I thought some things that really stood out. Let's start off with some of the news that we did get. Luther Burden was not back at practice today. There also was no Kyler Gordon, also no TJ Edwards, no Jalen Johnson either. I believe this is his golf outing this week for Jalen Johnson, the charity golf outing that he holds every year. So no surprise there. But for from Kyler not being out there, TJ not being out there, Luther not being out there, all dealing with soft tissue injuries that could be something that's going to linger over this next week. But what Ben Johnson did say, and I think that this is very important to bring up as well, he did say that he expects to have everybody back for mandatory minicamp next week. So it'll be very fun to see those guys finally be able to get onto the field. I do wonder if, because it's voluntary right now, if they're like, we don't need you here, just kind of, get through the issue, work through it, and we'll see you when we get the mandatory minicamp. It kind of felt that way, how Ben Johnson answered the question today, but we'll see how that ends up playing out when we get to next week. Something else that I did think stood out, though, when you talk about how this team is approaching the day. First play, Caleb Williams throws, and not first play, I should say, but the first interception that Caleb Williams throws. He was trying to fit it in, coming up the slot, trying to get tight hole. Tremaine Edmonds right there, interception, takes it back, boom, right? The second time around, and I thought this was very interesting, it almost seemed like Caleb Williams was challenging Tremaine to do it again. And the one, I know people are going to look at that because it did result in an interception. Tremaine tipped the ball into the hands of Jaquan Brisker. But it almost seemed like there was you got me last time, I'm going to go back at you. And I think even that is a completely different mindset than what we've seen from this team in the past. It's a completely different thought process. Remember last year, Caleb throws the interception to Cole Kmet. I swear we didn't see that pass again until we saw the interim head coach end up taking over, right? Like you didn't see Caleb taking at nearly as many chances as we saw him take in the second half of the season, especially in that last 7 to 8 games where he started to pick up the pace, started to play a little bit better, right? Like those are the moments to me where you look at Caleb and you say, okay, that's the special part. And I thought Case Keenum went up to the podium today and I asked him, some of the things that you saw on tape from Caleb coming here, what were those things that you wanted to turn into that you felt like if Caleb makes a small tweak, you can see this playing out and he takes that next step. And it kind of was hey, like you got to take your chances when they're there. You got to be aggressive when you can, but take the gimmies, take the layups, take the short stuff, take the underneath stuff, take the things that you never go broke making deposits, essentially was the message there. And I think that that's something that a lot of us as Bears fans feel right now when you're talking about Caleb Williams. I know he can make every throw in the book. I know he can hit the deep ball. I know he can hit over the middle. I think there are times where last season you saw him try to go out there and do, as Thomas Brown said, play Superman. That doesn't benefit you in the long run. You need to go out there and you need to make your plays and you need to play your game and make the plays that are going to be positive net games, especially with a coach that's big on EPA per play. You need to be coming away with points and not just 3 points at times. You do that a lot of times by simply going out there and making those deposits into the bank. I think that's going to be something that Caleb is going to benefit from here, but not taking the aggressiveness away from him. And I think that's what Matt Eberflus tried to do last season. We don't want you to make that play. We can't live with that turnover. You can't throw that turnover, so just don't throw the ball to that direction. Seeing Caleb come out here today and take a couple of chances, and listen, it didn't work for him, right? This is the time where you can take the chances and it not pay off. But taking the chances, being more aggressive, trying to force the ball in, trying to fit the ball into tight windows. That's the Caleb Williams that you drafted. That's the guy that you want to figure it out. And Tremaine Edmonds, there's no better person to try and test in that moment than Tremaine Edmonds, who I thought had a really, really good day today. Of course, right, the 2 plays, but he was just flying to the football constantly. I thought he had a really big impact on the defense today. Not much that you can tell on the trenches right now. The one thing I will say in the trenches that I thought was interesting, going back to my notes here, was that starting at left tackle today, and this is kind of, I guess this is a little bit newsy from here. You did get Ozzy Trapilo in there as that starting left tackle, and I think Ozzy Trapilo is going to be somebody who, to me, is your starting left tackle in the long run. I think he is going to be the person that ends up being that starting left tackle. But what Ben Johnson said on the situation was right now it is all fluid at that left tackle spot. But we can say, at least feel confident about right now. He said he feels good about Darnell Wright on that right side. When asked if he would move him, he said, listen, everything's fluid right now, but we feel good about Darnell Wright on that right side. To me, I feel like you got 4 of your spots locked up. The question mark is that left tackle spot. We thought there may be some belief that there could be a move for Darnell Wright to that left side. Doesn't seem like that's going to be the case for the Bears here up at Hallis. It seems like there's going to be a lot of trying Ozzy there, trying Karan there. The one thing I will say, again, no pads, nothing on, there's no real takeaway you can have here. But am I going to sit here and tell you that Ozzy didn't look like he's been playing left tackle his whole career? No, it did. He popped up on time. He engaged well. I thought that, and again, no pads, nothing to grab onto, nothing to be pushed off of with, but it just looked like he was somebody that was used to playing left tackle, which goes back to the conversation that Ozzy had the entire time where he talked about actually being somebody who, after the practice is done, I'm now getting these reps in at the left tackle spot, trying to practice for the versatility, for that flexibility to be able to play both positions, especially taking that next step up. I told you guys many times, Ozzy Trapilo is probably my favorite draft pick that we had this season with all of the guys that we have out there. I just think that he is somebody who is going to be looked at as a really, really good starter for years to come. I don't know if he's going to be great. I don't know if he's going to be all pro. I don't know how dominant he's going to be every single year, year in and year out. But I do think he's somebody who you can stick over there on the left side and not worry about. And I can't say that's something that Caleb Williams has been able to do, that Justin Fields was able to do, that Mitch Trubisky was able to do, depending on how far you want to go back on that left side, that Jay Cutler was able to do. Like it wasn't something that was a solidified spot. And so I do think that having that spot a little bit more locked up is going to be big for the Chicago Bears. And I feel like you may have that with Ozzy on that left side, but it is still fluid. Braxton still has to come back. You have to see how healthy he's going to be and how quickly he's going to adapt to Ben Johnson's new system. Ozzy's going to have a little bit of a head start in there. Is Karan the number 2? Is he the number 1? Is he the number 3? All of that is yet to be seen, but you know that they want to get their second round pick on the field. So good to see him him getting those reps early on. I think that was pretty much it. I'm not going to sit here and make more out of situations than what there were. I thought Caleb overall had an up and down day. I thought that he got in and out of his operation really well, which is the thing I'm most concerned about right now. I thought he called the plays and got lined up. I think that there were moments where Caleb threw balls and you went, oh my goodness, like how the heck did he fit that in there? There was a pass to the right side that just a nice drop in the bucket to DeAndre Swift, I think it was on that side. Just a good pass. And then, there were the interceptions that came as well. But to me, it felt like taking a challenge, taking a chance, trying to fight your way, or trying to show that, hey, we've got some fight here on this offensive side. You're not just going to come in here and beat us up all day. So we'll see what ends up happening with this Bears team overall. Another good day of practice, another good day of coaching, another exciting day for me. We'll be back up here for rookie minicamp. But of course, we'll be back tomorrow as we talk more Chicago Bears with Jordan JC in the morning. Hopefully he's not eating Franken beans and he's not having one of the worst breakfasts I've ever seen. As always, man, it's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Bear down. One love. Peace.